Hello, here we are on an M1078. I'm having front brake issues, and it usually comes from the brakes not adjusting correctly. They'll, as you apply the pedal, you apply more pedal, and suddenly they grab. Well, that's generally the sign of the front brakes not being adjusted properly. And more times than others, what I have found from the non-adjusting properly is that they need to be lubricated in the self-adjusters. Now, I'm no wise, I'm just trying to introduce you to this fact. Usually between these 2 points right here, I think I stopped that one. Usually between these 2 points here, right here, and right up here, you have the shoe. Now, in these grooves right here, the ends of the shoe goes in there. And if you look at the shoe, if it's the first time you're taking it apart, you say which end, does it matter which end goes back and forth? Yes, it does. On the shoe itself, it'll be marked adjuster end. Let me move over here real quick to show you. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can see it. Yeah, it says adjuster end. And that goes to your adjuster. And your adjuster is right here. Now, these are called wedge brakes. What happens is the air is applied back here. There's a rod that runs up into the shaft, and there's a set of rollers in here that separate wedges in here, expands the brakes. I just want to take these apart to show you what you're dealing with. Now, I've loosened this stuff ahead of time. This is the seal that works up there. It's a silicone seal. The first thing you want to do is see if you can secure parts. I don't know how available they are. I know when they came available on eBay, I bought a half dozen of them. But generally you can take these cylinders apart and they're salvageable, so are the seals. Now, this is a pawl. This is part of the self-adjuster. It locks up those pieces in there and they adjust and won't let it come backwards. What this is guilty of is, so much like the others, the grease dries up. Now, a lot of times too, they'll be really severely rusted. After you pull that out, and there is a spring connecting to it. So if you get one, where we are there, if you get one that is severely rusted, don't just snatch it out of there. Kind of work with it, shoot some lubricant down there, because that spring will break, it'll stretch, it'll be worthless to you. All right, taking that apart, now everything slides out. Okay, I did that and you didn't see it because I wasn't there. This all slides out. Boy, it's hard to work with a camera. This all slides out of there. Now what this consists of is a threaded area. Well, there. Okay, that is a cylinder. That sits in there. Right there is what the wedge pushes on. That's what expands. And according to the stroke, like so many of the self-adjusting brakes, according to the stroke, that is what determines if this piece adjusts right here. And wow, this is difficult one-handed. I'm undoing this right temporarily. Are you seeing it? No, it's a right-hand thread, and you'll see it all in a minute here. All right, that and that. Okay, that all comes apart there. That needs to be cleaned up and re-greased. Now, how that works is at the top here, when that shoe is in that slot and there's pressure on it, that star piece around there, you can manually rotate that, and that will rotate the stem. This piece up here locks on that stem, so it'll be like a detent. You'll feel it tighten and then loosen, tighten and then loosen, and that's where it's going through the detent. But now when these are working properly, how easily should those spin? Well, you want to be able to work it, and the water gets in there and really locks those pieces up. That essentially is it, depending on how far you want to go. Down here, if you can see that, that is your roller down there. As the brake is applied, that comes out. Now, I can do all my work on this one. I know that there's nothing in that tube here, a rod that comes down from the air piece. But right here, all this in here, if you work, I use lithium, white lithium grease. I work it all through there and relubricate it, clean it out first, blow it out. And put it back together. I'll take this other side apart. There again, this came out. Everything slides out. Now, this one is coming apart very easily. Like I say, I've had them before where they have been frozen up in the wedge itself. Parts, the last I knew, are pretty difficult to get a hold of. They were for me, but maybe y'all have a good connection here somewhere. If you do, I'd love to see you, reply with the post that I put up there. Tell me where you're getting your parts. But I guess that's it. It's just a short, sweet video. Oh, I suppose I could do on the other side. The other side, on this one, it doesn't work. It just holds. So do you need to take that apart? Well, only if you want to check it and pull it apart. Otherwise, it doesn't move. It just holds your shoe. All right? Hey, thanks. Talk to you later. Okay, also with this, I'll cover this before I go. I don't, no way am I the wise sage on these trucks. But I also know that you got to learn somewhere. This being an all-wheel drive, you've got gearing out here. Now, in the end of this, there's a plug while you're out here doing this. And yep, I got some little fuzzies here with moisture showing. But just real quick to say how to check this. Pull that plug and rotate. There again, easier said than done. Rotate your wheel until this level of this, you find out what the level of your oil is. Okay, I had oil coming out and it was at a horizontal, which is correct. It's half full. But while you're there checking your brakes, or even if you get a hold of this and look at it and there's no problem with your brakes, you might check the oil in these hubs. Okay, thank you. All right, I had said earlier about cleaning parts and making them move. Okay, now this is that adjuster I had spoken about. Move all over on you here. What I like to do is get that clamped in there. There we are. Get that clamped in somewhere. It doesn't have to be tight. And work this adjuster up here. You'll feel it. That little dot that's right over here. That's the detent area. That grabs in between those pieces. But if you clean this, blow it out, and turn it, if you can turn it like this without too much effort, then you got a working piece. The more you work it, the looser it'll get. A lot of these just get seized up from brake dust, trash, whatever. The years are really unkind to these things sitting. All right, now having said that, to show you also what this goes into, make note that this adjuster that it screws into has a wider part at the top and it has a narrow band at the bottom. Does it matter which way it goes? Yes. That wider top goes to the adjuster, yeah, like this. All right, And I put that on there just to make reference. If you take it all apart and clean it and you say, doggone it, I didn't take note of that. Hey, it's been done before. I'll piece some more stuff together. Thank you. There's a couple things I want to note on reassembly if you're a novice at this. First off is this spring. Here we are. Now if you notice on the end of that, I've got to find it myself, folks. You'll see it, it's not perfectly round. There's square sides to it. Now that has one way to go. The thing I'm going to caution you with is those slots will go perpendicular in the golly, losing a vocabulary here. They go perpendicular, straight up and down. Now when you set it in there, you get it in that general direction, and the first time you develop a feel for it, you start putting it in there, you'll feel it go. You'll still have some spring showing, but you'll know when it's in there. And the way I'll show you, you know when it's in there, I'll change hands here, is if I take this adjuster and I can turn it one way, just turn it a couple turns. If I go back with it and it stops, then I know I have that pawl locked in correctly. If I can still turn it. The other thing I wanted to point out is in putting that chamber, putting that back in there, let me find me, is that slot in the outside piece goes towards where the pawl goes. And that also coincides with, on the bottom, the wedge, the higher part of the cut goes towards the wheel, so that when the wedge comes out, it expands it. There is one way that it goes in here. You kind of set it up in there with that groove towards the pawl area, and you feel it. It will go. It won't go otherwise. I guess what I'm trying to say is you don't have to force it. You'll just feel it. Develop a feel for it. Thank you. So I'm going to give you my disclaimer now. When a person starts to work on an LMTV, it's kind of assumed that they already know what they're doing. But I realized last night, I woke up and I said, maybe not so. Maybe you're a newbie that wants to take on something that you want to try this. Hey, more power to you. So then I need to tell you this. I'm showing you. The brakes are back together, but they're not adjusted. I don't want you to assume because you took them down and put them back together that they're automatically adjusted. On the other side of this truck, I went ahead and put the drum back on just to show you the gap that's in between the brake and the drum, and that's down at its base. Wow. Base measurement. That's all the way withdrawn. So now you've got to expand it. To adjust your brakes, you, like I said before, you manually turn out those pieces. To coin an old thing, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Okay? The fact of the matter is, on these adjusters, if you turn them clockwise, yes, clockwise, they will go in. That's a right-hand turn. That tightens it in. That sends that in, thus causing your brake shoes to be less close to the drum. So you want to turn these counterclockwise. You want to do it evenly. What you do here, do up here. That's to get you started. That's to get you started. Draw it close to the drum, so that in case you do apply the brakes and they're not fully adjusted properly, that you at least have brakes. The closer to the drum that you get them, the more accurately they'll be adjusted. And yes, it may make it a little bit difficult to work on, but at least you'd have brakes. Okay, that is my disclaimer. That's to the person who wants to learn and is doing this thing, and more power to you. That's how we all got to start. Now, there are certain other things that you just check. The oils in the hubs. Grease fittings are underneath there. Now's a great time to do them. There's no lecturing on that. But again, to the newbie, I'm just talking this. Check things out while you're down here. Do it. Enjoy the job. It's a great thing to do. I hope this gives you some information on what you're looking for in those wedge brakes. Any feedback? Guys, I would love to ask you, how do you get the springs on those shoes easily? It's like a mating ritual of a sandhill crane. Sometimes they go easy, sometimes they don't. I'd love to get feedback on the different ways of putting those springs back on. Now, I guess that's it. If it helped you, great. Thank you. Go Steel Soldiers. I guess I'm not through filming yet. I'll bore you with some more information. This is the rears. I was just going to show you the front because it was a matter of disassembling the wedge chambers. But on this, I'll show you a little difference. On this, you see, the upper part is the adjuster. The bottom part, for the sake of calling, is a dummy. It's a stationary. On this one, this is your other chamber over here. The lower one is the adjuster, and then you've got the upper one is the stationary holder, i.e. the dummy. And that's the difference. You have two activation chambers. Never wondered why, but needless to say, they are. So that's it. That's just a taster. Have fun.